Golden State Warriors star Steph Curry has extended an offer to USA hero Alysa Liu. And honestly, this might be the most wholesome sports story of 2026. Let's talk about what's been happening. Because if you haven't been paying attention to the Winter Olympics fallout, you've been missing out on something special. The Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Games wrapped up and left behind a lot of memorable moments. Incredible performances, shocking upsets, emotional victories. But when people look back on these games years from now, one name is going to stand out above almost everyone else. And that name is Alysa Liu. Now, if you're not familiar with Alysa Liu yet, let me catch you up because this young woman's story is genuinely one of the most fascinating things happening in American sports right now. She's 20 years old. She's from Oakland, California. She's a figure skater. And over the course of 2 weeks in Italy, she turned herself from a talented young athlete into a full-blown global superstar. Here's how it happened. In the very first week of the Winter Olympics, Alysa Liu was part of the Team USA figure skating squad that competed in the team event. Now, the team event doesn't always get the biggest headlines. It's not the one most casual fans tune in for, but Team USA came out and absolutely delivered. They skated brilliantly. They worked together. They earned that gold medal. And Alysa Liu was right there in the middle of it. Gold medal number 1. And at that point, people were starting to pay attention, but nobody quite knew what was coming next. Because in the second week of the games, Alysa Liu walked out onto that ice alone. No teammates, no one else to share the moment with, just her, the music, and an entire arena watching her every move. And what she did in that women's singles program event was nothing short of extraordinary. She skated the performance of her life. She was technically brilliant. She was emotionally captivating. She made it look effortless in the way that only the truly elite can where you're watching someone do something impossibly difficult. And it somehow looks like the most natural thing in the world. She won gold. Her second gold medal of these Olympic Games. And with that, she didn't just win a competition. She made history. Let that sink in for a second. The last time an American woman won an individual Olympic figure skating gold medal was 2002. That is over 2 decades ago. The last time an American woman even stood on the individual Olympic figure skating podium was 2006. Nearly 20 years of American women coming to the Olympics, competing their hearts out and not being able to break through at the very top level. And then Alysa Liu comes along at 20 years old and ends all of that. She doesn't just end the drought, she ends it with gold. She ends it in the most dominant, memorable fashion possible. So, yes, the historical significance of what she did is enormous. But here's the thing, historical significance alone doesn't turn someone into America's sweetheart. Plenty of athletes do historically significant things and then fade back into their sport without ever crossing over into the broader culture. What makes Alysa Liu different is everything else that comes along with the talent. She has this personality that is genuinely magnetic. She's charismatic in this totally natural, unforced way. She's a little eccentric in the best possible sense. She has opinions. She has humor. She has this energy that just comes through whether she's being interviewed after a performance or just posting something casual on social media. And then you combine that with the fact that when she actually skates, she carries herself with this extraordinary elegance and grace that almost feels like it belongs to a different era. She's simultaneously relatable and aspirational. Funny and graceful, quirky and polished. It's a combination that's almost impossible to manufacture, and she has it completely naturally. And then there's her family story, which is something else entirely. Alysa Liu's father is a man named Arthur Liu. Arthur grew up in China, and in 1989, a year that anyone with even a basic knowledge of modern history will recognize as a significant and turbulent time in China, Arthur made the decision to flee. He left everything behind. He came to the United States. He eventually settled in the San Francisco Bay Area, which, if you know anything about the history of Chinese immigration to America, has long been a significant destination and home for Chinese communities going back generations. Arthur built a life in the Bay Area. He got established and then he made a decision that is in its own right remarkable and fascinating. He decided he wanted to have children and he chose to do so through surrogacy using anonymous egg donors. He didn't have one child this way. He had five. 5 children. And Alysa is the oldest of those 5. Think about that story for a moment. A man flees China in 1989, comes to America with nothing, builds a life in the Bay Area, and raises 5 children, one of whom just stood on top of the Olympic podium in Italy with 2 gold medals around her neck. That is an American story in the truest sense of the phrase. It is complicated and unconventional and remarkable all at once. And Alysa is deeply openly proud of all of it. She talks about her family. She talks about her dad's journey. She talks about Oakland. She doesn't shy away from any part of her story. And that openness and authenticity is a huge part of why people have connected with her so strongly. The Oakland piece is worth dwelling on for a moment, too, because it matters to understanding who she is. Oakland is a city with an incredibly passionate, proud sports identity. It's a city that feels things deeply and loves its own fiercely. And Alysa Liu has made it very clear that Oakland is home. Not just technically, not just on paper, but genuinely, emotionally home. She reps Oakland at every opportunity. She shouts out the city. She carries it with her and Oakland has responded in kind. After she won her gold medal in women's singles, the city organized a community-wide celebration in her honor. A proper homecoming, the kind of welcome that you give to someone who belongs to you. And she went back and received that love the way someone does when they know it's real and it's mutual. The San Francisco Chronicle covered the whole thing. And it was one of those feel-good local sports moments that you genuinely don't see that often. So that's who Alysa Liu is heading into this moment. She's an Olympic champion. She's a history maker. She's Oakland's own. She's one of the most talked about athletes in America right now. And she's only 20 years old, which means the best of her career is almost certainly still ahead of her. Now into this picture steps Steph Curry. If you had to identify the single most iconic figure in Bay Area sports over the last decade, Steph Curry would be right at the top of that list without question. For NBA championships, 2 MVP awards, he changed the way basketball is played. He made the Golden State Warriors into a dynasty. He made Chase Center in San Francisco into one of the most electric arenas in professional sports in the Bay Area. Steph Curry is not just a basketball player, he's an institution. Right now though, Steph is going through a tough stretch. He's dealing with a knee injury that has kept him off the court. And the Warriors without Steph Curry are a noticeably different and struggling team. It's the kind of absence that reminds you just how much one player can mean to a franchise. And it's been hard for Warriors fans to watch. But being sidelined apparently gave Curry something he doesn't always have during the grind of an NBA season. Time. Time to sit back, watch television, follow the news, and apparently become a very enthusiastic follower of everything Alysa Liu was doing in Italy during the Winter Olympics. And his fandom led to something genuinely cool. On March 11th, Marcus Thompson II, one of the most respected basketball writers covering the Warriors, published a piece in the New York Times revealing that Steph Curry has personally reached out to Alysa Liu and her family with an invitation to come to a Warriors game at Chase Center. Not just Alysa, her whole family, the full Liu crew. It's such a naturally fitting gesture when you think about it. You've got 2 of the Bay Area's biggest sports figures. One, a veteran superstar who's been at the top of the game for over a decade. One, a rising young champion who just had her breakout moment on the world's biggest stage. Both deeply connected to the same stretch of Northern California. Both loved by the same community. Curry reaching out and saying, "Come be our guest. Bring the whole family. Let's celebrate what you've done." That's exactly the kind of moment that reminds you sports can be genuinely wonderful sometimes. And you have to assume Alysa takes him up on it. Why wouldn't she?